on that ring you gave to me. Got too tired of the same old song. Oh, dirty river, come take me. Where we're going I can't see. Once again I'll fall into your fold. 'Cause a thirsty man will walk all the way to the sea. That cool, dirty river's holy water for me. I can't sink, I can't swim, catfish feelings back again. Oh, dirty river, clean my soul. Woo-hoo. If you don't ask, I won't tell. I'll just say that all's swell. You can't bend me to your will. I would like to remind you of a man you once loved, tried and true, and all the holes he left I can't fill. 'Cause the diamond in the rough I am not. I'm more like that big old bottom feeder that you caught. I can't sink, I can't swim, catfish feelings back again. Oh, dirty river, clean my soul. To the kitchen sink, but you can't make him take a drink if he don't want to help himself. Now it's kind of like that thirsty horse. You can lead him straight to the source, but if he's stubborn as a mule, it don't help. Oh, so don't work too hard when it's hot outside. And cool, dirty rivers, all you got sometimes. I can't sink, I can't swim, catfish feelings back again. Oh, dirty river, clean my soul. Now diamond in the rough, I am not. I'm more like that big old bottom feeder that you caught. I can't sink, I can't swim, catfish feelings back again. Oh, dirty river, clean my soul. Oh, dirty river, clean my soul. All right. Hey.
My goodness, what a way to get started, right? Hello, Chad Elliott in the house. Oh my goodness, thank you all so much for coming out tonight on a Friday night, sweltering hot in Perry, Iowa. But we got a little bit of rain today, right? Cool things off just a little bit. For how many of us, is this our first night really out since pandemic started? Let me hear from you. It is for me. Woo! It's been a long road. It's been a long road for all of us. My name is Akwi Inji, and it is a pleasure to be with you tonight. I'm going to be emceeing this evening of music and storytelling with you. I'm an artist, storyteller, poet, writer based out of Cedar Rapids, and I've been working with the We the Many and the Perry team for just about 6 months on We the Many, telling the stories of Perry in a variety of art forms. So thank you for being with us tonight. Now, we've got a really cool night ahead of you. I don't know how many of you have actually ever been in an event like this where there's a little bit of music and storytelling happening throughout the night. Like, let me hear from you if this is your first time at an event like this. Yes! All right. Now let me hear from you if you have been to an event like this before with music and storytelling throughout. Let me hear. Okay, I love it. So a little bit of both. We've got some novices, we've got some people with experience in the audience. Here's the thing that I always like to do when we're starting off an event like this. So it requires a little bit of prep work on your end. So you're gonna make sure that as you stand, You're not going to knock over any glasses, okay? So I always like to warm up a room. Now, we're used to being at a performance where at the end, if we're excited about how it all went down, we do that standing O comes at the end. But no, friends. That's not how we do it around here. That's not how we do it. We warm up the room. We give our energy into the room, make sure that the storytellers we're going to hear from tonight, many of whom have never told a story on stage, know that we're here to support them. And so we're going to start with a standing O when I give you the magic words. I'm going to tell you what the magic words are, and then the second time you hear those magic words is when you actually stand and whoop and holler, okay? So those magic words are you ready? Okay? All right. So I'm not going to do it quite yet. I just need you to eventually get ready. So what I also want you to know is that we've situated the room so that we recognize we've got a team in the back of the room that's videotaping the evening so that this lives on forever and ever, amen, on the digital world. And then we also have a path that you can follow to the restrooms on this side of the tarp. Please don't go to the other side of the tarp. There are all kinds of holes in floors and walls back there. Don't do that. You're going to, just before the tarp, underneath the Budweiser sign, you're going to find the restrooms there. Even though this is a programmed event, feel free and comfortable to just head out to the restrooms, grab a drink from the bar, as you will. Don't feel like you have to wait, although sometimes you can sort of sense when there's a really nice opportunity to jump out of your seat to do that. Does that sound good? Cool, awesome. So, all right. Perry, Iowa. Are you ready? Thank you. So when we got Chad Elliott on board, the committee was like, wait, you got Chad Elliott? We got Chad Elliott as our featured musician for tonight. And Chad just released another CD, Singing River. And throughout the night, you're going to find his CDs at the table, and he'll probably give you a chance to learn exactly how you can snag one of those CDs. But this is what I do as MC. I check my notes to make sure that I've said everything I'm supposed to say. This is how we roll around here, my friends. All right. Any questions? Good. That's the way it should be. It means I've done my job. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, and everyone in between, Chad Elliott.
All right. I bet we'll probably want to turn off the music real quick and oh yeah, got it. Okay. Thank you so much. Wow, what an event. I'm so honored to be here in Perry and be a part of the Storytellers. I can't wait to be part of the audience as well. And I mean, I won't be telling a lot of stories because I want to be listening to stories tonight. But in my songs, there's stories. And sometimes there's stories that go before the song. And this one has a little story about an old Buick I had. When I grew up, I was 16 years old, and I was in Guthrie Center, Iowa, growing up there, and we'd have to come to the biggest town we knew, which was Perry, Iowa. It had a movie theater and stoplights. We knew we were in a bigger city if we came up here. My first ticket was right here in Perry, Iowa, and I just borrowed the car for the first time from my mom. It was kind of this big step, and I came up here with my girlfriend. We were on a double date with a couple younger kids one class below us. They were 15 and we were 16, and we came up here, and my 15-year-old friend said, "Hey, you know, I'll drive if you guys want to talk in the back seat." And I said, yeah, that sounds great. And so technically it wasn't really my ticket because I was in the back seat when I heard the words, "Oh no, oh no." And I was like, what is going on? And I looked up, and I looked over, and there was a red light that he just ran right through, and we heard the sirens. And we were pulling right on Main Street here. No, what is it? The street. We pulled down on 2nd, and we thought we were on, was it Wilson? Willis, yeah. We pulled on to Willis, and that's when the cherries were coming. And we turned left, and we thought, well, when we pull over, we'll just switch seats. And so we pulled it off. Don't tell anybody on the police department. But we pulled it off, jumped in the front, and he jumped in the back, and I opened the door like I had my seatbelt on, and I got the ticket, and my mom was so confused when we got home that night. She's like, why is everyone else paying your ticket? You did this. And I took 3 years to muster up the courage to tell her that I did not get that ticket, but my friend did. Anyway, this song is about reckless days, those reckless days in a big old baby blue Buick that my great-grandfather owned. And it got passed down to me. And this is called Great High Plains. Well, it was all the rage, a big bonfire like goldfinches sitting on an old barbed wire. Gathered around the flames in a pickup trucks. I was in that old Buick, but I didn't mind much. Great-grandfather used to drive his safe. Now he's gone in the deep, cold grave. So we tear around the gravel and rip up the fields. And the only bit of fun that we get around here is riding on the edge of the great high plains. We were whipped by the wind, pushed by the rain. And every woman in the back of the dirty old Dodge had a smile on their face on Arista corsage. It was the first time old Dodge and corsage was ever rhymed in a song right there. I was sitting shotgun as I lit out of town, taking dirt roads so we wouldn't be found. Sat like a preacher in the passenger seat with my vow of silence and my prayer for peace. 'Cause there's no more need to be spinning my yarn, 'cause the deeds I'd done didn't cause any harm. Riding on the edge of the great high plains, we were whipped by the wind, pushed by the rain. So who cried love in the middle of the night? Who sang the song Bad Moon on the Rise? CCR did that. As sweet as a barn owl searching for a dove, I was running through the woods looking for love. I came upon a clearing, or it came upon me. I snagged my shirt on a honeysuckle tree. There's wood smoke drifting in the middle of the night, kissed by the breeze in the pale moonlight, riding on the edge of the great high plains. We were whipped by the wind, pushed by the rain. So darling, won't you dance with me long after dark by the shack bark tree? Just to let the barn dance come off of the hitch, let her roll down the road till it lands in the ditch. Riding on the edge of the great high plains, we were whipped by the wind, pushed by the rain. Whipped by the wind, pushed by the rain. It was all the rage, a big bonfire, like a goldfinch sitting on an old barbed wire. Gathered around the flames in a pickup trucks. I was in that old Buick, but I didn't mind much. Thank you. All right. Thank you so much. Well, this one is about fishing. It's a good time for fishing stories, right? We're going to be going up to Minnesota here this weekend, my family and I, and we're up there, and this it always reminds me, going fishing with my kids reminds me of my grandfather. He was a great storyteller, and he's a professor of history and theology, so his stories were long, very long. But he was a wonderful storyteller, and I learned all about mythology and theology sitting on a boat at 5 in the morning with my grandpa. And this is off my children's album, but we'd go all over the country. We'd go up to Minnesota, and we'd go to Canada even. We went out to Colorado trout fishing and go down to the Ozarks and every little small pond in southern Iowa. I was so young that I believed he owned all those ponds. Like, that's how young I was. And we'd go out to this place called Lake Pomme de Terre in the Ozarks. And it just sounded so exotic and French as a 6-year-old. Years later, I found out it just meant Potato Lake. But it was... Anyway, this is called Fishing Trips. You can learn a lot by not catching fish with your grandfather. He'd say, grab the pole, grab the bait, grab the tackle box, let's not wait. We gotta go to some nearby creek, see what fish is in there waiting for me. Remember that time we fished until dawn, camped on the edge of Grandpa's pond. We nearly froze, had not one bite, but that's still one of my favorite nights. By the crackling fire, stories get told. Some still new, some real old, but the old ones change with every tale, 'cause Grandpa used to tell them so well. He'd say, grab the pole, grab the bait, hey, grab that tackle box, let's not wait. We gotta go to some nearby creek, see what fish is in there waiting for me. And sometimes we would stay up really late, and if I got scared, he'd just tell me to wait. Pretty soon there'd be a little tug on the line, and I'd reel one in, and I'd forget the time, and I'd forget about the worries out in the dark woods. With a fish in my hand, I'd be feeling pretty good. That's how Grandpa taught me about life on them fishing trips, on them cold, dark nights.
When we first got together to talk about what kinds of stories made up Perry, Iowa, what was clear was that so many of those stories are about food, friends, and absolutely about family. And so it strikes me as certainly appropriate to think about my own grandfather, the fishing trips that my own families took over the years as we were listening to Chad's music. Now, We the Many is an opportunity that was granted to Perry, Iowa as one of only 3 communities in the entire Midwest who had this opportunity. It was a pilot program out of from an arts nonprofit organization based in Minneapolis that oversees arts organizations and funding throughout the Midwest region. And Perry was, like I said, one of 3 to receive this really cool opportunity. But that opportunity came at the tail end of 2019 and leading into 2020, and we all know what happened at the beginning of 2020, right? Pandemic hit, and the plans that the Perry Committee had to tell stories about who we are as a community frequently and consistently over the course of a year began sort of crumbling as pandemic not only started but went on and on and on. And the question was, how do we continue to tell these stories? How do we do that? When do we do that? Through which mediums? And so finally we got to this point. But through all of these months, one person has been behind the scenes as artist in residence for the We the Many project, and that person's name is Eric Dominguez. And he's our featured storyteller tonight. He's a master storyteller. He's owner of Speak Up Stories based in Des Moines, or the Des Moines area. And he is not only a master storyteller, he works so hard and is so good at coaching others to tell their stories in a way that is important, that empowers them and makes them feel as though their lives and their professional experiences come alive as their voices do as well. And so all of the storytellers that you'll hear tonight are storytellers who worked with Eric through the process as well. So without taking up any more precious time, please help me by warming up again the room for Eric Dominguez.
I am absolutely blessed here to be with you all in Perry, Iowa. One of the topics of conversation tonight has been an element of not necessarily surprise, but discovery of what it is to be here in Perry, Iowa. You know, I've only lived here about 4 or 5 years, and being in this experience with you all has taught me so much. I'm originally from Mexico, and I spent the majority of my life in Arizona, and I moved to Des Moines about 5 or 6 years ago. And so I've been exploring the little nooks and crannies of Iowa and exploring what it means to be an Iowan. And I want to tell you a story about a town very similar to Perry that really has powerfully moved me, especially through the pandemic. It was the fall of 2019, and I was in a funk. It was one of those funks, those personal and professional funks that you don't actually want to get out of. You want to sit in that funk, and you want everybody to just feel sorry for you. And I wanted just everybody to feel sorry for me. I didn't want to take anything. I didn't want to move any strategies to move me out of it. And so at the suggestion of my lovely and beautiful girlfriend, who's sitting right over there, who I'm going to continue to embarrass all day and all night, she said, you know what, let's get out of town. Let's get out of town to clear our heads. And we got the suggestion to travel to Mason City, Iowa. Now, Mason City, Iowa has 3 historical landmarks. Number 1, it is the only place in the world where you can stay at a fully functioning Frank Lloyd Wright hotel. It's a beautiful, beautiful structure. Number 2, it is the setting for the musical Music Man. And number 3 is a little gem that you may not know about. We had just wrapped up lunch, and we started to go out for a walk. But this was in November, so it was bitterly, bitterly cold. And thankfully, right around the corner to our hotel was this indoor mall. And I'm going to be honest with you. The mall was not impressive when we went there. If you've ever seen Stranger Things, season 2, I believe, it's kind of like that mall, as if Stranger Things had actually occurred. And if you hadn't seen Stranger Things, a lot of terrible, creepy things happened, and it just felt abandoned. There's no stores open, maybe a few lights. And I thought, this is perfect. We get our walk in, and I can stay in my funk, and I don't have to talk to anybody about it. And my beautiful girlfriend was talking to me, but I wasn't present. I was in my own head. I was thinking about things. I was just in a loop. And then we got to this cul-de-sac within the mall. Pitch black, with the exception of just one store open. And I had this thought of what store would be open in this dark section of this dark mall. So we approached it, and right about the time that I realized what was happening, it was too late. I saw a kid, and I do mean kid because he looked young, pop up out of his chair as if this were the first customers he's ever seen in his life. This was an indoor mini golf course. Now remember, I'm in a funk. I don't want to get out of my funk. Mini golf is not on the agenda at all. So we made eye contact. It's inevitable. He starts talking at us, not to us. He starts talking at us. And so we, being polite, approach the counter and start to listen. Except, again, I'm not really listening. I'm just kind of looking around, waiting for an opportunity to get out of the conversation so that I can go about my day in my funk. And he's talking so much and he's kind of rambling, and I'm just getting really, really annoyed with him. And I'm thinking, why am I wasting my time talking to someone in a mini golf course in an indoor mall? I just can't handle it. And then I noticed that he said something. He said, yeah, my family all had input into each one of the different holes in this course. And I thought, jackpot, jackpot. You see, whenever you want to exit a conversation, one of the best and not so kind strategies is to ask a closed-ended question, a yes or no question. So I thought, boom, here we go. I'm going to ask him if he likes working for his family. I'm going to say, hey, do you like working for your family? And there's only two options to that question. Option number one, yeah, I love working with my family. We love each other. We hold hands and sing Kumbaya around the campfire and talk about mini golf. And it's just a great, great time. To which I would respond, yeah, family's so great. And you know what? I wish your family the best. And we're out of here. Bye-bye. Or there's option number two, which is, hey, do you like working for your family? To which he would reply, no, I hate working for my family. It's such a drag. They're always on me. I'm just working here so I can save up enough money to get out of here, and so I can never see them again. And I can say, yeah, family can be really burdensome sometimes, but either way, I wish you the best. Okay, goodbye. Perfect. So here I go. I queue up the question, and I'm not even looking at him, and I think, all right, so do you like working for your family? And that's when something changes. Now, I want to be clear, he didn't move at all. But have you ever felt someone right behind you? Like their presence is just eerily on you? That's what I felt. And I later put together that I think that that's when his confidence exploded. It was as if he had been waiting for someone to ask him that specific question. So again, I'm not looking at him, and I ask him the question, do you like working for your family? To which he responds, actually, they work for me. And suddenly, I am out of my funk. I am 100% sold on whatever he's going to say next. And we uncover his story. KJ is his name. He was a career athlete. Grew up in athletics his entire life. Football, basketball, wrestling. This was his dream. He was being recruited by D1 schools. He was going to play football for his career. Until one day, right before his junior year, during practice, someone came up behind him and clipped him, busted his knee. And this is not a knee injury where you recover for a few weeks and then you're fine. This was all seasons ending injury, seasons. The doctor said, you're not playing football, you're not playing basketball, you're not wrestling, not this year, not next year, not ever. You're done. And he later revealed to me that that hit him very hard. And he was in a season of depression. But that season didn't take very long. Didn't last very long at all. Because he started to think, what could I do? Well, how could I serve? Where could I build? And he started to do a little market research. And he realized that there weren't a whole lot of opportunities in Mason City, Iowa, for families to gather together, especially in the winter, especially indoors. So he had an idea of creating a mini golf course. And he did more research. And he found out that that old abandoned-ish mall, well, that was going to be the center of a new hockey rink. So there's going to be more and more people there. And he thought, what a perfect opportunity to bring people into community, into family, during the bitter winter months. Then he went around to different businesses and pitched his idea so that when he opened River City Mini Golf, he opened debt-free. This 17-year-old man is running a fully functional, profitable, debt-free business with buy-in from the community. This is a man who took an obstacle and turned it into a beautiful, beautiful opportunity. And I almost missed it. I almost missed that powerful story. And I'll tell you, remember, this was November of 2019. I fully opened the doors to Speak Up Stories in January of 2020, a public speaking coaching company. In March of 2020, after booking keynotes and workshops and having clients, I saw all of those get canceled, get canceled, get canceled. And my mind kept coming back to what KJ had done. That this was an opportunity for him to be in service. So my message to you tonight is when those obstacles come, because they will absolutely come, you have the opportunity, the responsibility, and the blessing to turn them into something beautiful for your communities, no matter what funk you are in. Thank you.
Well, I wish this was a story that was so beautiful as that. Beautiful. I wish I was like KJ when I was a teenager. Heck, I wish I was a teenager. I was as clear-minded as an adult. I'm going to tell you just a quick one before this song about my first run-in with the law when I was 6 years old. It was in Lamona, Iowa, and a friend of mine from a class way wiser and older by one whole grade came to my door, and he was a second grader, so he knew what he was talking about when he said, "Hey, Chad, you want to learn how to smoke?" He had a lisp, and his name was Shane Countryman. His name fit his personality perfectly, actually. And he started talking about the train depot in town that they hold these auctions in, and if we go there, there's this loose leaf tobacco on one of those tables, and all we have to do is go in there and get it. And I was like, well, you're in 2nd grade. I'll just follow you. I don't know. But I've seen smoking in the movies. And so we went there in broad daylight, and the door was locked, so he's like, well, you have to throw a stone to get in there. And so I threw a brick through the window, and in broad daylight in Train Depot. And my uncle, sitting at the utilities department right across the street, watched the whole thing go down. I think he was the one that turned us in, because that night we stashed the stuff at his babysitter's root cellar down there across the street from my house. And so when the sheriff came to our door, Sheriff Kilpack, he's a very menacing big man with one eye shot out by a bank robber. Kid you not. Look it up. Dale Kilpack showed up at our door, and he's like, where's the stuff? And I just sheepishly pointed across the street at the babysitter's house, and went, got it. And my poor mom, single mom, raising us 4 kids, just shaking her head. I'm trying to get through college, work a full-time job. Can you just not get in trouble with the law, please? And we went to juvenile court 2 weeks later. Got to juvenile court, and they told me to sign on the dotted line, gave my statement, and I didn't even know how to write my name. I just signed Chab, because my D's and my B's were flipped around. So there it is, Chab, guilty, and I had to pay restitution at 6 years old. Worked off the summer for my grandfather. We worked, and I live in his house now, and I bought this house 5 years ago in Lamoni, and I said, just leave the chessboard there, because I love playing chess with my grandpa. And so I got there, and I was all alone when I pulled into this house, and I was like, there was the chessboard in the toy cabinet, just as it always has been. I pulled the chessboard out of the closet, and a sheet of paper fell on the ground, and I kid you not, it was in my grandfather's writing, restitution hours that my brother and I worked off that summer. I got it framed on my studio wall. Anyway, this song's called Wide Open Road. It's about being chased by the law. So I know you're thinking about me. I know that I'm on your mind. It's true, you are right to doubt me. And the promises you know I'd break in time. But I've got an itchy feeling that we're being dogged from behind. Such a shame that you took to stealing, because now peace we'll never find. It's so far away from the pictures in your mind, darker and more dangerous than anything we could find. Is deep inside our memories, safely tucked away, out there on the fringes. Who knows how long we could stay? I know there's trouble brewing, and the moon is hanging low. About the only thing that we have now is this wide open road. Now I know that you've got your problems, baby, you know I've got mine. But the only proof is in the progress that we make it on down that white line. It's so far away from pictures in your mind, darker and more dangerous than anything we could find. It's deep inside our memories, safely tucked away, out there on the fringes. Who knows how long we could stay? I know there's trouble brewing, and the moon is hanging low. About the only thing that we have now is this wide open road. Is this wide open road? Is this wide open road? Thank you.
Our next three storytellers are telling stories in front of a live audience for the very, very, very first time tonight. The first is Ashley Anderson. She's a Perry resident, very involved in the arts community, and has a digital marketing background. Please join me in welcoming to the microphone Ashley Anderson.
Thank you. So you may or may not remember the very last day of 4th grade, but I actually do. Because on the last day of 4th grade, as I got off the bus and ran inside my house with my younger siblings, my mom had actually greeted us at the door, which was kind of unusual at the time. She asked us how the last day of school was, and as we stumbled over each other, extremely excited to tell Mom first how the last day of school was, she actually laughed and asked us all to go sit around the dining room table because her and Dad had something very important to tell us. We threw down our backpacks and actually ran into the dining room, excited because we thought we were getting something like an end of school present or maybe finding out where we were going for summer vacation this year. And as we sat down and kind of settled, my mom and Dad looked very nervous. My brother Zach and I looked at each other and I began to wonder if I had done something wrong. Did Mrs. Hesterberg call and say I misbehaved during that end of school assembly? Because if they let me explain, it wasn't my fault. And my mom interrupted my worrying and said, all right, guys, we have some exciting news. And all I can actually remember thinking is she didn't sound very excited. She began talking about how she accepted a promotion, one that would help us all grow and eventually send the four of us off to college. She was extremely excited about it because she'd actually be her own boss, which would mean she'd get to see us at our T-ball games and concerts and other kind of school activities that she never got to do before. The best part about it was she could start this summer, as soon as we moved. Wait a minute, I didn't want to move. I was in 4th grade going into 5th grade. I did not want to move. I especially didn't want to move to Perry, Iowa, because where was that? It was obviously too far away, and I knew for sure I was going to hate it there. Fast forward a little bit, after spending almost a decade in Perry, growing relationships, participating in extracurriculars like band, choir, speech, and volunteer work, it was finally time for me to apply for college and actually finally move out of Perry like the rest of my classmates seemed extremely eager to do. I went on to Iowa State and later transitioned into the working world, moving from town to town, city to city, for promotions and opportunities that seemed abundant. By that time, both of my parents had actually moved out of Perry. My younger siblings had all grown up and moved away as well. So really the only concrete tie we told ourselves we had to this community was my husband's family. And with life being as busy as it is, we really only saw them on holidays, birthdays, and that random trip up to say hi. It wasn't until September of 2019, when my father-in-law passed away, that it really sunk in that we missed this town. So a few months later, in March of 2020, we decided to move one last time back to Perry. So we packed up our bags, moved back, and this last year kind of threw us a little bit of a curveball. Between a pandemic, unemployment, TP shortages, and even a derecho, the one thing that really stands out though is that derecho. And it's not really even due to property damage or tree damage, but as we were driving back home after the storm had passed, we were honestly panicking. We had gotten multiple calls at work saying that our house was totally covered with brush and trees, and my mother-in-law and sister-in-law couldn't actually get inside our house to check on our dogs. So once we finally got back to town, we actually had to finagle our way through our alley and park in our backyard, which was very unusual because we would never do that. But our entire front house was covered with a monster pile of trees and debris. And once we got out, we could actually hear our dogs barking, which was great, because that meant they were okay, even if we couldn't get to them. And my husband made his way into our garage to try to find something to hack our way through to one of the doors at the very least. And I made my way to the front to try to wade through that debris. And kind of like a scene from the movies, many of our neighbors, mind you that we actually didn't know very well because we decided to move during a global pandemic, but many of our neighbors came to our aid and helped us hack and rake our way to our front door. So even over this last year, through a pandemic, derecho, and even through our loss, we are glad to be back in this community, and we know that Perry is and always will be where we consider our home. Thank you.
Ashley Anderson, everybody. All right, I don't know about you, but I am profoundly impressed. It took me like 3 years of being on stage to get to that point of confidence and humor and all kinds, I mean, right? Nice, Ashley. Next, we're gonna hear from Sherry Scheib, and Sherry has told me that this is self-proclaimed annoying community activist, has lived here for over 50 years. Please join me in welcoming Sherry to the mic.
My sister's here. Hot damn, I am thrilled to see all of you in person with your smiling faces. I wanted to say that first, that I am happy to be here. Who said that? Hi, girls. First of all, I would like to thank everybody. I think this is really important. What an important event that we're having tonight. Also, I want to apologize up front to the folks sitting in the front row, like you, Nance. I had a tooth removed not long ago, and you may get a sprinkle or two. I'm just warning you. I am warning you, just so you know. Yeah, that's right. My story is about nicknames in small town USA. Now, we've all known people who've had weird nicknames, or maybe you had a weird nickname when you were young. Well, this story is about that. And I'm going to take you back to my 7th grade English class. English class being the key words right here. So, it's the first day of school. We are in Mrs. H's English class. And she wants to go around the room and have us introduce ourselves. So we're supposed to stand at our desk when it's time that she will call our names. So as they're going around the room, my last name is Tice, so I know it's going to be a while. So I'm patiently waiting, and I'm sitting there, and all of a sudden, I hear Sherry, and I thought, oh, she called my name. Okay, so I stand up, and she doesn't say anything else. She just says Sherry, and I'm thinking, what the heck? She didn't say my last name. Everybody else had their last name mentioned, but not me. And so I'm standing there thinking, what the heck's taking so long? And I look behind me, and I look at her, and she looks confused. Tice is a very easy name. T-I-C-E, Tice, lice, rice, mice, ice, nice, all of that, and I couldn't figure out what was going on. Oh my gosh. So as I'm standing there, it felt like eons. All of a sudden I hear, Ticky? And I'm thinking, what did she just say? What is a ticky? I don't even know what she's talking about. And so I stand there confused, of course, and I hear the kids start to laugh. Everybody's laughing. She's an English teacher, and everybody's laughing because she mispronounced my name. And so what happens is I mutter, it's Tice. And I sit down in my chair, and I wait, and everybody is going through the rest of the alphabet, and we get done with that rest of that class. And The rest of the day, I was so worried because people were saying, ha, she called you Tiki, ha, 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 ha. It should be Tice, ha, ha. And it wasn't until the end of the day that I saw my friend Holly Hethcott, who said, oh my God, she called you Tiki. I can't believe somebody would call you Tiki. How can you mispronounce the name Tice? She laughed, hysterically laughed. And I thought, oh my gosh, it stuck. The name stuck. For years I was called Tiki. I know, crazy. So for years, all those years that I was called Tiki, I did not realize how valuable that day and that name was until she passed away last year. And I realize now that I cherish that name. It's become a very important part of my life because of her. And maybe you have heard your story, or you know somebody with a weird nickname, and maybe now you understand that it is very important to them. So thank you very much for listening, and thank you to Eric for all his guidance. And I'm trying not to cry about this. It's hard, because that was a very important thing that I had happen to me. So thank you all. I appreciate it.
All right. So we're going to listen to another storyteller, and then we're going to hear a couple songs from Chad, and then we're going to have a short intermission before we hear from our last three storytellers. Does that sound awesome to you? Yeah. Sweet. All right. Okay. So our next storyteller is Dana, and she just finished at DMAC, right? Awesome. All right. Give it up for Dana.
Thank you. All right, so what can you do with the Sharpie? Obviously, it's a marker, so its general purpose is going to be to write or draw or whatever, but its more specific purpose is dependent on its owner. An artist, for example, might use it to design a poster. An organized individual might use it to jot down a quick note. And a child will most definitely use it to decorate the walls and everything else within reach. Well, in the hands of a swimmer, a Sharpie is used to write on your skin the races that you're in and the lanes that you'll be swimming in during a swim meet. And in the hands of this swimmer, that Sharpie was used as a tool to share joy and connect in a small and simple way. So for those of you who have never been to a swim meet before, I'm just going to sum it up for you right now. It's an extremely boring event, punctuated by moments of extreme excitement. The most boring time, though, for swimmers and spectators alike, is the 30-minute period between when the warm-ups end and when the races actually start. During this time, the swimmers have already warmed up, they've written down their races and their lanes, they've set up camp, they've pulled out all the snacks, and all that's left to do is wait, and wait, and wait. And all of this waiting allows ample time for nervous energy to be built up, especially for a naturally nervous person like myself. And where there's nerves and there's markers, there's only one thing that I know how to do: doodle. So that's what I did. During one summer swim meet a few years ago, I just drew a small, colorful fish on my arm. It was nothing big, nothing fancy. It was just my way of de-stressing and distracting myself from the races ahead. And I never thought it would be anything more than that. But I was dead wrong. After a couple meets of doing that, my swim friends started noticing, and they thought it was pretty cool. So they asked if they could have a fish of their own. I had the tools and I had the time, so I agreed. And it became our sort of pre-meet ritual. We'd all gather at my camp after warm-ups, and I would draw everybody's custom fish in whatever colors they wanted before the races started. It was our time to share a laugh and share a smile and form a deeper bond. Well, not long after we started doing that, the little swimmers noticed, because little kids see everything. And they're not afraid to ask about it either. They'd come marching up to my bigkin friends and look at them and go, "Where did you get that fish?" And my friends would point me out to them, and so they'd come marching over to me and ask if they could have a fish of their own. Only my little friends are a lot more imaginative than my big friends. So it wasn't just fish that they were wanting. Oh no. It was rainbow-striped narwhals and ferocious swimming tigers and beautiful smiling mermaids, many of which I had to deny because my art skills are limited. And there's only so many sad puppy dog eyes that I can take. So I ended up creating a tattoo menu. On a piece of paper, I scribbled out about 10 sea creatures that I could confidently draw, and I stuck it in a plastic sleeve, and this became a staple item in my swim bag. Big and little swimmers alike would be coming to me during and before the meets, asking for their own signature creature in whatever color they felt like that day. And it made them smile to see the finished creation on their skin, which brought me warmth to my heart. And I used this as a time to connect with my teammates as I drew on them. The beautiful thing about swimming is that it's a multi-age sport, so you have teammates ranging from 5 or 6 years old all the way up to 18 years old. This can sometimes cause a divide between what's called the big kids and the little kids. So tattooing on them was a way to create like a common ground that broke down some of those age barriers and just formed a more cohesive team structure. This progressed actually for several seasons. More and more kids would be coming over. I started having kids from other teams coming over. I got to know one coach who still, when I'm at swim meets, is like, "Can I get a fish from you?" And I'm like, "Sure, why not?" Because I always have a Sharpie, or someone has a Sharpie. But what was really cool is that I got to see other swimmers start to do the same thing with their markers. I would catch them beckoning their friends to come over before the meet, and they'd pull out their Sharpies and draw little phrases or little critters on their friends in their own special and unique way. So this whole tattooing gig went beyond just distracting me from my own nerves. It was used as a tool to, one, share joy with my teammates and feel that spark of joy for myself as well. Two, to connect and build community with the common ground of tattooing. And three, to inspire the other kids to use their own tools and their time to connect and share joy in their own way. So with this story in mind, I ask you, what's your Sharpie? What tools or resources do you have right now that you can use to make someone else's day a little bit brighter? It doesn't have to be anything big or expensive or far-reaching. Not all of us are made to change the world. But if we can each do what we can with what we have, in whatever opportunities we're given, we can make our corner of the world and Perry, Iowa, a better place. And in doing so, you never quite know who you'll inspire to do the same thing. Thank you.
I'm very impressed. Wonderful stories. Wow. Oh, man. Well, these two songs are about my wife. How about that? I was out on a tour, and I just got off the road and sitting on the porch with my wife. We're having coffee, and I'm thinking I'm being all romantic, singing all these sappy love songs. And she just stopped me. She's like, "Please, could you just sing me one song that I know you wrote about me?" So I was like, "Be right back." And I went and wrote this song. This is called Rest Heavy. I rest heavy every night, ever since you came to my life. I was so lost before that day. Now with you, I know the way. the sky's so clear now that you are with me, my dear. Some things are not meant to be. I know some things just leave you blue. Oh, baby, please tell this to me. Oh, how can we be apart when my heart stays with you? I rest heavy every night ever since you came to my life. I was so lost before that day, and now with you I know the way. Oh, now with you I know the way. Ah, I love song. Thank you. Appreciate it. Oh, my grandpa, you know, I talked about him, about how all his wisdom, and one of the wisest things he said is if you sing falsetto for a girl, it means you're desperate. I have to agree with him. Anyway, this is called Wedding Band, and I wrote this. It took 6 years to write this song, and we got married over in Coon Rapids, Iowa, and my wife grew up there, and we had everything planned, and you know, it was the week of our wedding, and we were going to go up to Minnesota, the same cabin I'm going up on Sunday to get married at this cabin. And then 3 days later, her mom passed away in her sleep, and just the week of our wedding was just kind of like vanished, and everything kind of tunnel vision for the entire family. And we ended up canceling the wedding and having a funeral instead, celebration of life instead. And then we thought, well, we'll wait a couple weeks, and all the family's going to be here for the burial. And so we thought, we'll just do it because everyone's going to be here. It'll be perfect timing. Not perfect, but timing. And we're going to get married at White Rock Conservancy, and there's going to be out at Starfield. You know, Starfield, where it's the unpolluted, least light pollution in the state. And we thought that was beautiful. We'd be out under the stars. And her mom loved one of my songs called Shining Stars. And they have tattoos, all the daughters, and the mom had tattoos of stars on their ankles. So we thought, this is perfect. And then we got to the wedding day, and it was just drenched, cats and dogs raining, and we had to move it into the barn nearby. And it just seemed like all these crazy timing and just the intensity of the emotions around that whole month of our wedding just was a roller coaster. And she was numb by the time our wedding came around. I could just see it in her eyes. There was this numb feeling, except this moment during the wedding dance in that barn. And she had this smile on her face. I couldn't shake it. You know, it took me 6 years to write this song because I kept getting all these other details in it. And I thought, you know, I could just write about that moment. It's just a simple moment, but I could tell she released a little bit and she could feel the joy in that moment. And so that's what this song's about. It's called Wedding Band. I said to you love. Looks like we're dancing. I took your hand then, I brought you to the floor. And when that wedding band played Otis Redding, man, I swear I never seen you smile like that before. And on they played our favorite songs as if they were singing for only you and me. And I felt your laughter shake the dust in the rafters, pray to the ever after. This is how it always would be. And the years flew by and by. We got older. The air grew colder. Somehow we kept warm. As we kept dancing, you see, it was nothing fancy. We burned the candles down into the morn. And on they played our favorite songs as if they were singing for only you and me. And I felt your laughter shake the dust in the rafters, pray to the ever afters, how it always be. We filled our loving cups when the sun morning came up. We filled our loving cups, and I can't remember the words of this song. I'm just gonna go, uh-oh, like Otis Redding would. There's a CD with the right version right over there. So I said to you, love, it looks like we're dancing. I took your hand then, I brought you to the floor. And when that wedding band played Otis Redding, man, I swear I never seen you smile like that before. And on they played our favorite songs as if they were singing for only you and me. I felt your laughter shake the dust in the rafters. I prayed to the ever after. This is how it always will be. All right. Thanks so much.
Wow. Absolutely beautiful. How are you all feeling? Yeah. I don't know about you, but I'm completely impressed with how the first act has gone so far, and I cannot wait to hear the stories in the second act. We'll also hear from our featured storyteller, Eric Dominguez. Now, here's the thing. So I've done a lot of live performance work around the country over the last 10 years, and when pandemic hit, most of my peers pivoted to the digital world. I chose not to. And I chose not to, not because I thought it was wrong, but because for me personally, I believe in this. There's something really special about sharing space together, right? And in fact, science tells us that our bodies physiologically respond to sharing space when we are sharing well-crafted, emotionally charged personal narratives. When we are captivated by whatever is happening here, your heart rates as an audience member become in sync. And if it's done really powerfully, during intermission, your heart rates remain in sync. Isn't that incredible? That's the power of live events, live storytelling. So with that in mind, please enjoy a 10-minute intermission, and we'll come right back and enjoy the second half. And it'll be less than half. It's not quite a full half. So, all right, take a good break. Thank you. In the beginning was the Word. 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 In the beginning was the Word, birthed from pen to page by Phyllis Wheatley, Frederick Douglass, stewards of a rich literary lineage. But before that, before the color purple and We Real Cool and the Caged Bird and those winter Sundays too, there was first the spoken word, the ancient and spiritual tradition of breath giving birth to the word, the griot, the bearer of a people's story, tales told, entire communities and cultures captured as chapters and cataloged in the memories to be retold. Memories danced ancient choreography on the tongues of those appointed, anointed to bear witness through words. Do you hear? Word. With breath as heritage, my literary ancestors adopted then the pen. That's just a little beginning to some. That's just a little beginning to a piece that I have performed in the past, and I thought perhaps it might be a way to get you all back in your seats. Thank you so much for coming back to us to enjoy the second half. We understand that this is an unusual experience for you probably. You probably generally appreciate coming to a venue like this, hanging out with your table of friends, and being able to just talk your ass off. Can I say that? I'm sorry there are children here. But I recognize that that's usually what you're used to, and this is different. This is something that has been prepared really intricately for you, and you have storytellers that you're going to hear from who've been working hard on their stories for months. And it's sort of up to us to honor that, isn't it? To help them through it, to support them through it, absolutely. So thank you again for hanging out with us tonight. And now I am off my notes, and so I have to figure out exactly who I was going to talk about. Yeah, Pat. Okay, all right, that is my fault. Okay, so the next storyteller that we're going to hear from is Pat McPherson. Pat is a retired registered nurse, and Pat is one of those folks who's been coached by Eric with her storytelling. Please join me in welcoming Pat.
See if I can get up here without falling on my face. My name is Pat McPherson. I'm a retired RN. In fact, my first job as an RN was at Dallas County Hospital. I grew up on a farm outside of Perry, and growing up included farmland, nature, a lot of what Chad sings. I can really identify with a lot of his music. But I was blessed to grow up in Iowa and around Perry, and my mom was there to guide my way growing up. And I want to share with a little bit of my life with you and how it affected my end-of-life decisions. One of my favorite quotes, and Betsy knows this, she's making a painting with this quote, but it's from Emily Dickinson, and you could even say it with me. Yes. How does it go?
Hope is a thing with feathers. Say it with me.
Okay, hope is a thing with feathers, a soul, and sings the tongue without the words and doesn't stop at all. Man, my brain went dry there for a minute. I've had a lot of career experiences with end of life. Some of them were beautiful events, and some of them were not so beautiful. One of my first experiences that probably had one of the biggest impacts on me involved a lady that had had a big stroke, and I was in a hospital setting. I went into the room. There was my patient. She had a tube feeding going, and at the end of the bed, and this was in the 80s, at the end of the bed was a dog, a little dog, sort of like River. And he had these beady eyes that were following me around the room and kind of this sour look on its face. And it just didn't move. And I finally realized this dog was dead. It was her favorite pet. And it had died some years ago, and she'd had a taxidermist stuff it. And it had these glasses. You know those old pictures that kind of followed you around the room? That's what this dog was doing. It was just so startling. But this lady had this big stroke, and she could no longer speak or communicate. She maintained life with a tube feeding. And her daughter had kind of helped her as her life was declining and helped her get groceries, as so many of you ladies do and gentlemen. Her family was all flying in from all over the country, and they hadn't seen their mom in years. And I was going to have this big meeting with them to try to decide what the next steps would be. The daughter felt mom would never want to be kept alive like this. And the family wanted to save mom. And so they just were never able to resolve that conflict. It had never been talked about. They'd never talked about what they wanted at the end of their life. And so ultimately, after some weeks, she did pass away with heroic efforts being done. And I often wondered if that family ever healed. In 1990, do you remember the case of Terry Chavo in Florida? Young lady that her husband came home, she was found down, and they did resuscitative efforts successfully, and were keeping her alive with tube feedings. Her brain waves were flat. She had no brain activity. And her husband said they had talked about it. He didn't feel that this is something she would want to maintain to keep her alive like this. And the parents wanted to keep her alive with the tube feeding and pray for a miracle. And that was kind of the start of advanced directives. And then the third kind of main case that I think of is Superman. Everybody knows Superman. You remember Christopher Reeves? He had a jump. He was riding a horse. He fell and had a spinal cord injury and lost all function from a severance of the spinal cord, and he was paralyzed from the neck down. And so he maintained the rest of his life with feeding tube and with a breathing machine. But he had brain activity, so he had this healthy brain trapped in this broken body, and they found a way for him to communicate because he couldn't speak, but he was able to go on and be instrumental in getting research for stem cell research and with spinal cord injuries. So he had a lot of money too, but he was really instrumental in making change. So these three things kind of had a big impact on me, and how do I want my life to go? And so I wrote my advanced directives at a young age, and if I have a car accident and I have a head injury, I have Alzheimer's, if I can't take care of myself, I do not want to be kept alive by artificial means. If I can't think and do myself, I don't want to be a burden, and I have a strong faith, and I believe that if I get an infection, that's my window to God, and I'll be ready. And so I don't want to be hospitalized. I don't want antibiotics. Not everybody might feel that way, though, but I have talked about it with my family and my husband and daughters, and I talked about it with my mom. And so she felt very similar to me, and we wrote it all down, and doctor has it. I feel like everybody in the whole world has it. I was mom's healthcare power of attorney, and my daughters are mine. And then mom got cancer, and after 10 years, they said she was cured, and then it came roaring back 3 years ago, and 2 years ago she died. The last 3 months she spent living with us, and we have a really good choice of hospice, different choices of hospice here in Perry, as well as a really good hospital, Dallas County Hospital. We have a full continuum of care with assisted living, we have nursing homes, and you have home health care. You can just kind of model exactly what you want in your particular situation. So Perry's blessed to have all that. Mom died with her family as her healthcare team, and my husband kind of took care of everybody. He was famous for his biscuits and gravy. But anyway, my 93-year-old aunt came, and she was kind of our comic relief, and we laughed and we told grandma stories and fishing stories. So you're northern Minnesota, I love that, because that's my place. But we just shared a lot of memories, and we really lived and we laughed right up to the end. So it was really special and meaningful. And when Mom died, oh, this is hard. When Mom died, it was the most profound moment of my life. My 2 daughters were with me. Mom brought me into this world, and I was able to see her go home to heaven. So, okay, Anne Lamott is one of my favorite authors. Have any of you read Anne Lamott? Oh, she gets it. But anyway, I've had my own battle with breast cancer, and Anne Lamott and Emily Dickinson and Betsy and kind of helped get me through that. But Anne Lamott said that we turn our faces to love like sunflowers to the sun. And I hope that each of you will take something from what I've said tonight. Think about it, talk about it, don't keep it a secret. Write it down. Thank you.
Anne Lamott. Oh. I was living in the Bay Area and I met Anne Lamott, and she's been a huge inspiration. So it's just amazing that you bring her up, because she kind of helped me frame my growing up here. And sometimes I felt displaced at times. Growing up, I was I was on all the sports teams. I was a football linebacker and I was a wrestling captain, but I was also the only one. Yeah. I was also the only one in the locker room, though, that was quoting Gloria Steinem. So, but that's what this song's about. This next one's when I was living out there, my friend, who was also a linebacker with me in Guthrie Center, he's like, "You got to write about scooping the loop. You know, nobody has a song called Scooping the Loop." And I'm like, I'm not going to write a song called Scooping the Loop, but I will write about that. And I said, it's going to be a different version than your growing up here. But I celebrate my growing up in these small communities in western Iowa. And I also have to frame it sometimes, because I feel like I'm looking down on it, my times there. And I said I didn't have enough courage sometimes to speak up on things I disagreed with. And now that I have a microphone and a guitar, I feel like I can say some of these things. But I also want to celebrate where I come from. So it's a really fine line as a writer and a storyteller to be able to walk that line and still hold them with such love and care, some of the memories that I had growing up. And so, Scooping the Loop. This one's called Bible Belt Saturday. It's on the new album that recorded down there in Muscle Shoals, Alabama. And I refer to the Confederate flag in there, and I just kind of sang the verse and looked around for the band members to wince, and they just were like, "Yeah!" So I felt, okay, I got the Southerners to approve of my comment about the... Anyway, here we go. I'm gonna do the radio-friendly version, because there's a few swear words on the album. Well, take it easy on the throttle, it'll kick you back. Broken pop bottles and Coca-Cola glass. Down by the station where your uncle worked, it was the only car wash in town. Where all the towny boys on their Saturday nights, with their rolled up sleeves, fixing for a fight or a roll in the back of a deviled out detailed 74 Monte Carlo. They were singing, "Oh baby, got a love machine, scooping that loop, an American dream." Oh, maybe the best I ever saw was a Bible Belt Saturday night. Jerry was a farm kid, wound up tight, with a peach fuzz stash. He couldn't talk right now. He stuttered, he spit every time he talked to any pretty girl he saw. Oh, but Jenny had a way with him, calmed his nerves. She cooled him down, he took it slower on the curves. Everyone said Jenny could have done better, but Jenny said she disagreed. Oh, and Jim would pull his souped up truck by the cars. He'd crank up the stereo, I think it was Fishing in the Dark. I never saw the county boys dance like that. Said echoed all across the town, they were singing, oh, baby got a love machine, scooping that loop, an American dream. Oh, maybe the best I ever saw was a Bible Belt Saturday night. I was a sensitive kid, had to keep a lot hidden. I shoved it all down neath the airtight lid. Kept the universal mind from the brutal kinds of the racists and the homophobes. 'Cause that's where we grow 'em, in the undisturbed middle of America, where not a word is to be spoken against the stars and the stripes and the convoluted rebel flags. They're all singing, oh, baby got a love machine, scooping that loop, an American dream. Oh, maybe the best I ever saw was a Bible Belt Saturday night. And then some red-headed teacher from further east, a teacher of art and music, a real prairie hippie, preaching MLK, Dylan, and Guthrie, man. She set that cowtown on fire. And I took it as an omen and I learned to fly. I didn't look back until I was so high, looking down on the town where I once grew up, saying, look at that pretty string of lights. They're all singing, oh, baby, got a love machine, scooping that loop, an American dream. Oh, maybe the best I ever saw was a Bible Belt Saturday night. Oh, maybe the best I ever saw was a Bible Belt Saturday night. All right, hey, thank you.
Chad, I want to thank you. And I want to thank you for something very specific that you taught this entire audience. Earlier, you forgot the words to a song, and you kept singing from the heart. And that was, for me, one of the most beautiful moments of the night, and I'll tell you why. Because so often we seek perfection when we are on stage. When we're speaking, when we're singing, when we're playing the guitar, and it has nothing to do with perfection. And it was a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful moment. Let's give it a clap for him. I've been a public speaker, see, perfection, there it is, perfectly. Perfect moment. I've been a public speaker and a public speaking coach for almost 25 years. And people are always asking me for that quick tip. What's something I can do? What's something I can do to improve my public speaking? And I usually kind of push them aside because there is no shortcuts to powerful, heartfelt singing. Speaking, look at that. Woo! Love it. But if there was one shortcut, I'm going to share it with you today. Carmine Gallo, who is the author of Talk Like TED, which is one of the best books you could ever read, not just on speaking, but on communicating and on performing. He talks about speaking about what makes your heart sing. speaking about what makes your heart sing. So I want to tell you about what makes my heart sing. I've already introduced you to Whitney over here, who is my best supporter, my best friend. And when I say that she's a dream come true, I'm not exaggerating. I could never actually dream of a relationship with anyone like the one that I have with her. Her and I share a love and a passion and a vision for our lives. And in that vision is our two sons, Elias and Ian. And I got to tell you about Elias and Ian. Elias is 9 years old and just so observant. And I'm not really sure if I should be embarrassed or proud of the fact that he beats me at every video game that we play. And he's always asking the inquisitive questions. And he's always addicted to reading. And he needs a little bit of space to kind of clear his mind, just like me. And there's a moment a few weeks ago where we were all having dinner, and we have these conversation cards. So we pull it out and we ask a question, and then we have a discussion at dinner. And the conversation card that night is, who are you proud of in your family and why? And in this moment of role reversal, he puts his hand on my forearm, and he looks at me with these wise eyes, and he says, you, Dad, I'm proud of you. And my eyes get giant like a little kid's, and I say, me? You're proud of me? And he says, yeah, Dad, you never give up. And my heart just expanded in ways that I could never imagine. And then sweet little 7-year-old Ian. This kid is full of energy and cannot stop moving. I have no idea where he gets that from. He is addicted to fact books. He will tell you facts about jellyfish, about cone snails, about red pandas. Every morning he comes down with his fact book and he just reads me fact after fact after fact. And he's got such a beautiful, giant heart. This is a little man who, every time we come home, he's always opening the door to make sure that we are cared for. This is a little man who, a few months ago, requested to learn how to use my coffee machine. Not because he wants to drink coffee, he thinks it's gross, but because he wants to make me coffee every morning, which he does. These are beautiful young men with so many qualities to like about them, which is what makes the following story even more difficult. Like all families, we have a nighttime routine, so we'll brush our teeth after constant negotiation of more snacks and more TV and another snack and another dessert and more TV. Finally, we get them to brush their teeth, and then we all cuddle up in our bed and we have a series of books that we read to kind of wind down our day. And one of the books that we've been reading is The Four Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz. And one of the main tenets of that book is be impeccable with your word. And what that means is that you use your word and you let your yes be yes, and you let your no be no, and you communicate love and light to everyone, everywhere, starting with yourself. He says, use the magic of the positive word to heal yourself. Say kind things about yourself to yourself. Tell yourself how lovable you are, how much you love yourself out loud to other people. And in this moment of impromptu parenting, I say, okay, family, we're going to do this right now. Everybody's going to go around and everybody's going to say one nice thing about themselves that they like about themselves. Ready, go. And if you have kids or you've been around small kids, you know the squirm. The squirm starts a little bit like a little movement, and it gets really uncomfortable. And it just starts moving into kind of a shaking. And both boys could not think of one nice thing about themselves to say out loud. Little Ian actually started hitting himself in frustration like this. Elias buried his hands and his face into Whitney and started bawling. They already had a story in their head that they're not allowed to like themselves. They already had a story in their head that they're not allowed to publicly proclaim that they are likable. So, we shifted that. And every night since then, we share a likable without fail. And a likable is something you like about yourself said out loud publicly to someone else. And it can be something courageous, like, I like that I'm courageous. Or it can be something that other people might think is simplistic of, like, I like how I play outside. I like that I am strong. I like that I am brave. I like that I am funny. I like that I laugh loud. Whatever it is that they think that day, whatever it is that I think that day, we speak that out loud. And I'll tell you this, if you're looking to improve your public speaking, if you're looking to improve your storytelling skills, start there. Because in order to share stories powerfully, in order to share stories that really impact, in order to share stories that inspire other people to like themselves, you get to like yourself first. So my challenge to you is this. It doesn't cost you anything. It doesn't cost you much time at all. Every night, for the rest of your life, say one nice thing about yourself and see your story change. Thank you.
I love that idea. I have a 14-year-old in the audience, and I think that you might suspect that when we get home, we might have a new activity to try. Thank you so much, Eric. Next, we are going to hear from Betsy Peterson. Please join me in welcoming Betsy Peterson to the microphone.
Thank you, Akwi, and thank you all for coming tonight. I had a fun childhood. It was a childhood that was full of fun all the time, as far as I'm thinking. I have 5 siblings. I'm fourth of 5, and I have a stepsister. And we found that love and care were given to us by God all our lives, all along the way. We spent the summers swimming, making bike trails. We did forts and campfires, and we had great time in winter as well. We did sledding, and we did ice skating. Now, 3 of my siblings are here tonight to enjoy this night with us, and I'm grateful for that. And they would concur that this was a fun neighborhood to grow up in. Sometimes we would go ice skating so long that we could barely walk home. Our feet were so frozen. And we would sit by our great fireplace by the hearth with a cup of homemade hot chocolate and warm up. One of my favorite things was sitting on the love seat with my mom, and she would read by the fire to me. And I loved that. I felt loved, I felt cared for. Don't ask me how she did that with 4 other kids running around and she read to me. My favorite book was called Hitty, Her First 100 Years, about a handmade doll that traveled around the world just by happenstance and made her way back to where she began. It was just a great adventurous story, and I loved imagining as she was reading. And the next Christmas, guess what my mom made for me? She made me a handmade Hitty doll that was Betsy's Hitty, and that made me feel loved and cared for. I wonder what my Hitty would say about her first 50 years with Betsy. So tonight, I'd like to share, or let Hitty share, her memoirs with you. Voila, Hitty, her first 100 years, her first 50 years, sorry. I better put my glasses on so I can read to you. Chapter 1, in which I write my memoirs. I'm sitting here beside the lamp in my living room, and across the way on the top of a cupboard, I see 2 wooden candlesticks, and they have graced the mantles of 3 generations of Betsy's family. On the other wall across, I see a painting that Betsy painted when her boys were young. There's a corn crib and a barn on their farm place. And below me here on the cupboard is a writing drawer with pencils and paper. So I don't know if it's the candlesticks or the painting or the writing drawer below me, but I have a hankering to write my memoirs. And so I think I'm going to do that. Chapter 2, in which I have my beginnings. As far as I can tell, I was created by the hands of Betsy's mother about 50 years ago in Iowa on Burr Oak Drive in the weeks leading up to Christmas. You see, Betsy's mother took a piece of pine wood and took an X-Acto knife and started carving on a doll to make a special gift for Betsy for Christmas. This meant a lot to Betsy, but she didn't know about her because it was a surprise. But when my mom was making, let me say that Hitty heard from the family that when Mom was making the doll, she would do some sewing on the dress, she would do some carving on the doll, and when it was all finished, from the work of her hand and heart, she wrapped it in Christmas wrap with a twinkle in her eye, and she put it under the tree. When Betsy opened that present on Christmas Day, she said, "Oh, Mom, this is beautiful. She's so sweet. I love her. Thank you so much." And that doll became a very special part of Betsy's life. And just by a mom making an object for her daughter and creating kind of a triangle of connection brought much joy to the mom and much joy to the young girl. Chapter 3, in which I observe an artful life modeled. As I just told you in the last chapter, this mother took her time in a busy time of year to create a gift for her daughter, to share a connection, to share love, and that was modeled by Betsy's mom, to take time to create, to bring joy to others. This mom, Betsy's mom, taught art classes often, many ages, young and old. She would teach art classes, and when she would teach, she would try to teach the creative way, not just how to sew a potholder. She taught how to think creatively. Betsy and I sat in on one of her classes one time. Of course, I told you that she grew up on Burr Oak Drive, so the mother had us drawing acorns. Acorn sitting right in front of everybody. So everybody drew an acorn, and she said, "Now imagine an acorn that had a bite taken out of it." How do you draw that? How do I take a bite out of it? No, she encouraged us to use our imagination, to use what was inside of us, to try to draw what we thought an acorn with a bite taken out of it might look like. This kind of lifestyle, this kind of encouragement to be original, to be imaginative, to use your imagination and solve problems in unique ways became an influence on Betsy's life. It influenced her so much that I saw her starting to create and make things as well. How wonderful is that? A mother modeling for her daughter an artful life, and she desires to be artful as well. You know what I noticed? I noticed Betsy, as she had young sons, that she made Christmas presents for her sons to make that triangle of love. She made them weeks before Christmas, and she hid them under the Christmas tree, and the boys opened them so that she could make a triangle of love, of connection, by working with her hands and her heart and giving to someone else, her special boys. The sons, I think, kind of learned to solve problems as well as they grew up. Being outside, making a fort or building a house or designing a yo-yo trick, these boys learned to find their passion. And I saw Betsy encourage her boys to follow their passions. They kind of got intuitive by growing up with this to solve problems in original ways using their imagination, and that made her very happy. I will say this, that this influence on her sons and the mom's influence on Betsy was something very special. And it brought joy to Betsy, it brought joy to her mom. So there you see an example of an artful life modeled by Betsy's mother. Chapter 4, let's see what chapter 4 is. Chapter 4, in which I observe shadowed valleys and deeper joys. During my time with Betsy, I noticed many ups and downs in the family's life. Things were not always rosy, but they always felt taken care of. On November of 2018, Betsy's brother was out running on a Thanksgiving day. He collapsed and he did not recover. Betsy lost her brother on that day. You have to understand that Betsy and her brother, after her mother passed away, they became kind of sounding boards for each other creatively. As a graphic designer, he needed to vent and say, what should I do in this project, or what color? And Betsy would need to vent and process with another creative person. And now that creative person was not there. What was Betsy going to do? It was a valley for Betsy. During that time, her brother's wife came to her and said, I think you remember that Skip and I, your brother and I, wrote a story called The Orphans and the Oak. And I would really love in this year, as we grieve, as we honor Skip, as we try to bring meaning to his life, that we would publish and launch a book, this story, but we need illustrations. Do you think you could do that? And in my mind, I'm going, come on, I'm grieving, I've just lost, you have too, what? I'll think about it. I saw Betsy take her hiking boots, her iPad, and her sketchbook, and she went off alone, and she did some walking in the woods, mostly oak trees. She did some sketching and writing and journaling and crying and played music on her iPad to try to work through this loss. How do I create in this shadowed valley? I saw her asking herself. Well, she said, Skip would want me to. My brother would want me to do these illustrations in this difficult time. You know why? To bring joy to other people. Remember that triangle of creating and bringing joy to others with what you've created? This is what my brother would have wanted for these illustrations. And Hitty saw that. The book was published and launched with help and guidance and grace. And as people saw the book, as they read it, as they heard the story, they were touched with joy. It brought joy to me to draw them in a time of grief, and it brought joy to people as they read it. You know what the last line of this book is? You do bring joy just by being who you are. Pretty good words to bring a whole circle around about this drawing of that book. Many more shadowed valleys will come and go in Betsy's life, but much more deeper joy. Bad grammar, but much more deeper. Sorry, it's Hitty's words, you know. She just has some final remarks. And to close, I'll close my memoirs. Patience and time are giving way. So we have learned that a mother making a simple doll for a daughter brought joy. We have learned that an artful life modeled makes a difference in people's lives and brings joy. And we have learned that through shadowed valleys, deeper joy can come. Now, let's go back to that lamp on the cupboard in the living room. And I see Betsy and her husband, Nana and Papa, getting ready to take a trip to see their grandchildren. I wonder if I could sneak into their suitcase and go with them and start my next 50 years. The rest is yet to be written. But I have a quote I'd like to quote for you by Kurt Vonnegut, but I'm going to ask Betsy to bend down and get something out of her purse, if she would. Okay, whatever. Look who snuck in here. Hitty snuck in with us tonight. And we have a quote. I'll share it with you, okay? It's by Kurt Vonnegut. It says, "Therefore, let us practice any art and acting and essays and dancing and fiction and drawing and music. Let's do some reporting, some planning, some singing, some sculpting, and some storytelling. No matter how well or how badly, not to gain fame or money, but to experience becoming, to see what's inside, to make your soul grow, and to bring joy to others." Thank you.
I have gifted so many things in life, but one of them is words, and in the form of a book, illustrated about a tree. And I associate Betsy's gallery with so many wonderful things, including oftentimes objects that have words associated with them, right? And I love that opportunity to think about the many ways that we create, the many ways that we share art and joy with one another. And our last storyteller of the evening is going to share her words with us. Please join me in welcoming Bethany Wicks.
I'm sure you've heard of the expression, hindsight is 20/20. That expression means it's easier to analyze and evaluate a situation that's happened in the past as opposed to when it's happening in the present. Hindsight, looking back in the past, 20/20, perfect vision. Take these glasses, for example. These small, round, fragile glasses. These glasses are the reason I have poor eyesight. These glasses are the reason my middle name is Marie. These glasses are why I exist, and they're why I'm here telling you a story today. I know what you might be thinking, that can't possibly be true. You're right. These are not my glasses. These glasses belonged to Marie Steinbrunn. She was 16 years old back in 1912. She lived in Germany with her parents and 11 siblings. Rumors of war in Germany were spreading. Marie's parents were fearful, and they did not want her family to go through the experience of war. They decided to send a couple of Marie's oldest brothers to the United States. Her brothers landed in Iowa. They took up work in construction, and they raved of the land and opportunity. Back in Germany, the rumors did not subside. Marie's parents became more fearful. They made the decision that they were going to immigrate the rest of their family to the United States. To prepare, they purchased tickets for a ship. They packed all of their precious belongings into a single chest. They ordered new glasses for Marie. Marie's glasses were supposed to arrive a couple days prior to the ship's departure. They were late. They did not arrive. Marie's parents knew that they weren't going to be coming back to Germany to get the glasses, so they made the decision to give up the tickets on the ship and wait for the glasses. The ship set sail without them. It was the ship that was said to be unsinkable, and it sank on its only journey. The Titanic, 68% of its passengers did not survive. Thankfully, a couple months later, Marie, with her glasses, and her family arrived at Ellis Island by way of the George Washington. They took train to Iowa, met with her brothers, and established life here. It wasn't always easy. They spoke German at home and had a thick English accent. The superstition and rumors of Germany loomed over them. They were different. They didn't always fit in, but they persevered. They made connections. They established themselves in the community, and Marie ended up living her entire life here in Iowa. She married, had 11 children of her own. Her oldest daughter is still living today. She's my grandmother, who also has poor eyesight and is in existence because of these glasses. These glasses, these small, round, fragile glasses, caused a series of events to occur that ironically fits all too well with the expression, hindsight is 2020. Thank you.
Oh, I'm so inspired by tonight. Thank you so much for letting me be a part of it, to witness the courage that it takes to get up here and tell stories. And I feel like this beautiful moments that everyone shared just became all of ours. And I think that's the beauty of these storytelling. And we got to witness some amazing stories and masterful coaching and storytelling by Eric as well. And I'm just honored. Yeah, let's give them all a big round. But I'm just, the reason why I say that it became all of ours is that's how it sometimes feels when I write songs. And this one here, it doesn't feel like my song anymore, and it became this universal song for other people, and people have told me they've sang it, and they've had it at their weddings, and they've had it at funerals and birthdays, and I think that's what stories do as well. So I was trying to find a good bridge between the Titanic and 2020, and I thought, well, I'm going to give it up on that one, but I do think there's some correlation between that and here, but looking back as well as looking ahead. So this is called Same Old Way. If I go walking past the town signs, further on down the highway, will there be something waiting for me? Or am I fooling myself again? You know I left this all behind long before you came across my mind. Nothing kept me from leaving that day, but that day was nothing like today. I fell on my knees and I prayed the change would spare me, that I could stay, or that I could stay the same old way. The times are flying right before me. It's not like before when I was blind. I remember seeing only the colors of the beautiful western skies. But now things are much deeper. That makes the darks much darker, but the light shine brighter on your beautiful face. I fell on my knees and I prayed the change would spare me, that I could stay, or that I could stay the same old way. Colors turn and turn back again. There's always something to believe in, but that's not what you're searching for. No, it's something more hidden. You could spend your life waiting around. You could finally up and leave this town. That's something, it just follows you, no matter which road you go down. I fell on my knees and I prayed the change would spare me, that I could stay, or that I could stay the same old way. So if I go walking past the town signs, further on down the highway, will there be something waiting for me? Or am I fooling myself again? You know I left this all behind long before you came across my mind. Nothing kept me from leaving that day. That day was nothing like today. I fell on my knees and I prayed the change would spare me, that I could stay, oh, that I could stay the same old way.
Oh my goodness, how are y'all feeling? Yes, yes, Chad Elliott. So Chad Elliott has a table full of amazing merchandise, CDs, book of his own poetry over there at the table. This one is Rumble and Flash. So be sure to stay a little longer, hang out a little bit, talk with your friends, buy some merch. Now here's the thing, we always end with many, 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 many thank yous. The first thank you absolutely has to go out to all of you. Thank you for being with all of us here tonight. And thank you, Tin Pig Tavern, the entire staff. You guys rocked it. I have goosebumps. I have to tell you, you do not understand how hard they have worked to get this space for us ready for tonight. They had so much damage due to derecho. You don't want to know what's behind that tarp. You don't want to know how hard they've worked to make this night happen. So thank you, Tin Pig Tavern. Thank you to Invictus Media behind us here, capturing all of this so that we can see it for years to come. Thank you to the committee, the Perry Committee, that worked behind the scenes over all of these months for that We the Many project that I mentioned before. Many of those committee members are here tonight: Bethany Wicks and Betsy, Mary Rose, Eddie, I think, is still here. Yep, and do I see Eddie back there? Lindsay is still here. Lindsay, did I say Betsy? Okay, I knew I was going to do this. I lost track. Mary Rose. Who did I miss? Okay, I got them all. Thank you so much. Please help me out with that. Thank you, guys. And so Chad is going to strum just a little bit while our storytellers join me up here. They're going to take a bow in front of you. So please, Chad is going to strum a little bit. Our storytellers. Come on, Bethany Wicks. Come on, Betsy Peterson, Sherry, Pat, Dana, Ashley. Featured storyteller, Eric Dominguez. Featured musician, Chad